Welcome back to Arc Tutorials. This is React.js full tutorial series for absolute beginners. In the last episode, we learned about how to install Bootstrap framework in our React project. Today, we are going to learn an extremely important and fundamental concept in React, which is JSX. It stands for Syntax Extension for JavaScript, which means we can write HTML-like markup language right inside the JavaScript file. I'm going to cover everything that you need to learn about JSX. We'll learn how to use variables, how to use object values, how to use it for mapping for as an attribute, as a variable. We will also learn how to use it in functions and calling them. All of that in this tutorial. This tutorial is extremely critical, and I want you, I'll request you to kindly watch this entirely and practice it. That's when you will master it. Without wasting any time, let's jump right into it. Like I said, this is part 7 of the series. If you have missed out on the first 6 parts, make sure that you go through them in order to have continuity to your learning. Alright, so like I already said, what is JSX? It stands for Syntax Extension for JavaScript, which means we can write the markup right inside the JavaScript file. Usually in other modern frameworks like Angular, we separate out the template, that means the HTML, with the logic. In React, we write the entire component logic plus the markup right within that particular file. That has a lot of advantages because you have the entire component logic and the template right inside that file. It's much easier, it's much reusable when you break it down to smaller reusable components. The first thing towards learning to write a component is to learn the JSX. Okay, so I'm going to show you a lot of variations of JSX, so that way you'll get comfortable and familiar. Let's jump into the code. Alright, so this is what we have so far. In the last episode we just installed Bootstrap and we got this logo and the blue color. That's fine. What I want you to do now is open your app.js file, and then you will see a return parameter here, right? You have a return statement. So delete everything till the div. All the HTML that you see, just delete it. Okay, so it should look like this, empty, and just put a h1 and give a name. I'm going to say Arc Credit Card Bank. Okay, now you can give any h1 title or any paragraph, any image that you want, or anything is fine, any HTML for now. Now you should see that we emptied the entire file. Okay, we are not having anything, just a simple h1. When you go back to your browser, you will see that title. Okay, that's all. That's all. That is the first step towards learning JSX. I'll make some notes for you. Part 7, this is JSX. The first thing that you should learn is that this function that we are writing, we will write many functions which will have this return statement, and we will write the markup inside the return function. Okay, remember that. So we will write. So what is JSX? First, stands for Syntax Extension for JavaScript. Okay, what it means is that we can write markup inside the JavaScript file. That's number 2. That's the number 2 important thing that you have to remember. The third thing you have to remember is we will have function which will return. Okay, should have return method, and inside the return we will write our markup, or you can also say HTML. Okay, which is like this. Inside the return we are writing our HTML. That's number 1. Number 2, we can define variables. How do we define them? Let's say I'm going to define page title, and let's say Arc Credit Card Bank. Right, I have this title. Now to use it, we will use the curly braces to define variables, okay, inside the markup, right? So now see, I will write the curly brace open, curly brace closed, and then I will write the variable which is title. Okay, so I'm binding this title into inside the markup. This is called the JSX, which means you're writing the JavaScript extension right inside this markup, right inside the JavaScript file. So here you have the title. I'm writing it here. Now go back to your browser, refresh. You will see the same title. You want to check whether it is working, change the title and see it's reflecting, right? That means now whatever value is there in the title will be printed in this h1 tag. Can I use more than one variable? Sure, you can. So I'm going to say, let's say arc, and this is one, and I'm going to say here, and I'm going to say title plus end title. Now you can see arc credit card bank is coming because it's now printing both the variables, right? That's number 2 point. Okay, so we can use variables inside the JSX using curly brace open, curly brace closed. Okay, now very important, this entire thing you need to understand because this is what we'll be writing as part of React application. This was an example with the variables. Now we can also have an object, right, with object properties. So I'm going to define an object and I'm going to say image equal to, and I'm going to define a url.com, right? So all I have is a object, right? Now let's use that. Okay, and how do you use that? So simple. If you have a image object, we have one key by the name url. Now before I implement this image object, I want to tell you very important thing about this return. Very important. That is the return statement, right? It can never have, it can never return two statements or more than one element, I would say. Okay, element. What I mean by that is I have this h1. Now let's say I want to add a paragraph. This is a paragraph. It will give error. Okay, it, you can see here in the terminal also, right? It's giving error because return will always return only one. Always should return one element. Okay, one element. So what you can do is you can make a parent dev for this and return it like this. Now you're returning only one div, which is a parent. So this is allowed, but you cannot return two elements directly. Okay, remember that. That's very important. A lot of beginners or freshers will make this mistake. They will try and return more than one element at the print, but you can only return one root element. Okay, always should return one root element. It cannot have two root elements. Okay, now remember this fact. That's why I've written an outer div. It can be a section if you want, that's fine. It can be a paragraph if you want, anything, but only one root element, one parent element. Okay, it can have any number of child elements inside it, that's fine, but return should only have one root element. Alright, so that being said, I'm going to use this image object. So I'm going to have an image, not image, let's say anchor, let's call it anchor, and I'm going to build a href equal to, right? Now let's close it and say google.com, and now see I'm going to use curly brace again, open curly brace closed, and I'm going to say anchor object dot url. So now I am using it as a property value, right? This is a attribute, this is a value. So I'm using hrefs as a, I'm using the object key as a value here, right? So that's another thing that you need to know. Now you see here, this is the link. If I click, it will go to google.com. Now same way, the third example I'm going to show you. So one we saw with variable, one we saw with object. That means I have an object, I'm able to use this value right here. Now you can use it for image source, input text equal to value, whatever you want to do with HTML. The last thing I'll show you is say a function, right? So I'm going to define a function, and when you define a function, you will define it outside the app. Okay, um, my name. Okay, and I'm just going to return the name. I'll pass a parameter, it will just pass the name. Okay, just simple. For now we are just passing it just to learn how to use that. So I'm going to say here, you can say name is, inside the curly brace you will write my name function, and you can pass a value, and you can say what is the value that you want to pass, right? Now how do you pass that? So earlier again, inside the curly brace you can just pass title like this. So see, you are now calling a function, right, which is outside the app. Okay, remember, you cannot have a function inside function here. So I have a function, it is taking a parameter by the name, and I'm passing it, and I can pass any variable that I want. Okay, now you can do a lot of things with it, right? So you can say string dot, right, say if you want to do name dot, um, let's say you want to make it uppercase, lowercase, etc., right? So whatever you want to do, you can basically add on that particular variation, or you can say you can just add anything that you want to add there. Okay, so if you want to take this name and say dot to lowercase, okay, return dot, okay, so it will, or to, okay. So now let's go here, and here you see, okay, let's pass a lower value, and for that I'm passing the end title, which is in lowercase. So now you see this is all uppercase now, right? Because this, you see here, it is lowercase, but now it is returning it as a uppercase because we transformed it. The idea here is to note that we can use objects as and map their value inside the markup. We can call functions and pass parameters to the function inside the markup. Okay, these are all very important concept, because this is what you would be doing in React. Okay, so remember the ground rules. Your return function should return only one root element. It cannot return more than one element. If you do, it will give error. You can use the variable, which is what we have used here. We can use it as a passing as an attribute value. You can also do like image attribute source input type equal to whatever you want to bind the data. You can also write a function, write it outside the app, and you can, which can take a param, and you can just return or that value, and you can call the function right inside the curly brace. That's the important thing that you have to learn. Okay, you can call a function, pass params, you can use it for addition, multiplication. If you have numbers, you can do anything right inside the curly brace. That is what is JSX. Okay, I hope I have cleared these things clear. You can use variables, you can use objects, you can do addition, multiplication, operators, you can call function right inside the markup. Okay, and that's what makes it JavaScript so powerful. Please do try it out. The only way to learn is to code with it. Okay, so please do code with me, and do let me know if you have any doubts. I'll be more than happy to help and answer and get you to a level where you will be comfortable writing React applications. In the next episode, we will start writing our first React component, and then afterwards we will do a layout and build a layout with our React components. I hope you are enjoying. I hope you're learning from this series. Please do like this video. Please do subscribe to my channel and keep supporting me in your comments also. Thank you. See you in the next episode.